Center's 21st Annual Evening of Aloha Dinner. To guide us through the special celebration is our favorite ABC7 news anchor. Please welcome tonight's MC, Mr. David Ono.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you in person. We're very excited about this evening. Good evening. Thank you for attending the Go for Broke National Education Center's Evening of Aloha. As you just heard, my name is David Ono. And we are all just celebrating the fact that we could actually see and talk to each other in person. And welcome to Evening of Aloha Gala. The last time we were in this room together, it was in October of 2019, and 3 years since then, so much has happened, so much has changed for all of us. So what remains constant, however, and what is at the core of why we are here tonight, is honoring the legacy of the Japanese-American World War II soldiers as an important American story. But you might wonder, what does that mean exactly? Well, during our program, we will present the unique ways Go for Broke National Education Center is working to preserve and evolve the Nisei veterans' story. So more importantly, we are doing it with an expanded national and virtual audience whom we have been engaging with since the pandemic began. Now, our hope is that all of you will leave here with a renewed sense of pride in the Nisei soldiers, undeniable sense of patriotism, community, integrity, humility, and sacrifice, or really the values of which this country was founded on. So tonight, you will be inspired by the gratitude and responsibility felt by the young, diverse, NextGen voices that you will hear from this evening. So it is now time for the most treasured traditions of our gala, the Nisei Veteran Roll Call. And we are fortunate to be able to present 6 of our veterans escorted by the Go for Broke National Education Torchbearers, our young supporters who serve as ambassadors and advocates for our organization. To help introduce our veterans, please welcome Torchbearers Emiko Kranz and Mas Moria.
Thank you, David. We actually have 7 veterans with us tonight. It is our honor and privilege to present this year's on-stage veteran roll call. Escorted by Maya Hernandez, our first veteran is Mr. Ed Nakamura, who served in the Military Intelligence Service as a Staff Sergeant T3 and received an award as part of the 11th Airborne Division, 188th Parachute Regiment. Born in Meredith, Washington, Mr. Nakamura was drafted into the Army out of the Minidoka concentration camp. Currently living in San Pedro, he enjoys gardening and is a huge sports fan. He loves the Lakers, Clippers, Dodgers, Rams, and Chargers. Real hometown fan. Here is Ed Nakamura.
I would like to introduce Mr. Steve Shimizu of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, who received a Purple Heart for injuries sustained in the Battle of Bruyères, and also earned him the France's Legion of Honor Award, a native of Kona, Hawaii, who came from a family of 9 brothers and sisters. Mr. Shimizu loved playing golf, fishing, and eating sushi and sashimi. At the current age of 100, he enjoys time with his 4 children, 6 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Mr. Steve Shimizu is escorted by Lindsay Sugimoto.
Escorted by Julie Yoshinaga is Mr. Yoshio, or Yosh, Nakamura, who enlisted out of the Gila River concentration camp to join the 442nd Regional Combat Team because, as he says, it was the right thing to do. Among his several distinctions are the Congressional Gold Medal and France's Legion of Honor. Eventually becoming a staff sergeant, Mr. Nakamura fought at the famed Gothic Line. A talented artist whose work is proudly featured in the note card set given to each of you tonight, Mr. Nakamura feels it is his responsibility to stay active and share the Nisei veterans' story for those who did not make it back. In fact, at 97, he continues to speak in person and virtually and has close to 200 engagements. Presenting Mr. Yosh Nakamura.
Next, we have Mr. Ralph Matsumoto, who is escorted by Michael Oguro. Mr. Matsumoto served in the Military Intelligence Service as a technician 5th grade and earned the World War II Victory Medal and the Asiatic Pacific Service Medal. Born in Honolulu, Hawaii, he currently resides in Paramount and maintains at an age of 101 an active lifestyle with travels with his wife, Amy, and his family to Houston, D.C., and Oahu. He also still enjoys monthly blackjack nights. Mr. Matsumoto was an avid bowler, and his high game was 297. Please welcome Mr. Ralph Matsumoto.
Our next veteran, escorted by Kent Marume, is Mr. Ralph Kaneshiro, who is a private in the Military Intelligence Service. Mr. Kaneshiro was awarded the World War II Victory Medal, Army Medal for Good Conduct, and Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal. Born in Makawao, Maui, Mr. Matsumoto, age 97, currently resides in Torrance, California. We are also delighted to introduce our next veteran, Mr. Ken Akune, who served in the military intelligence during World War II and post-war occupied Japan. Mr. Akune has been one of our founding veterans from the 1980s. Mr. Akune has a wonderful sense of humor, which delights all of us at Go for Broke National Education Center. It was uncertain if Mr. Akune could join us tonight, but he was determined to be here. Escorted by Lane Maki, Mr. Ken Akune.
Our final veteran is Mr. Shigeru Hayashi, who is a staff surgeon from Company B390. He received several awards, including the American Theater Ribbon, Good Conduct Medal, Overseas Service Bar, and Army of Occupation Medal for Germany. When he was 75 years old, he went on a backpacking within the High Sierras with his camping buddies and enjoyed special trips to Japan and seeing the Medal of Honor being awarded by President Clinton to his family. Mr. Hayashi, who is 96 of age, he is escorted by his family member, Melissa Magallanes. Please welcome Mr. Shigeru Hayashi.
Now, please help us give our appreciation and thanks to all of the veterans. I think I could speak for all of us in expressing our gratitude and admiration for their service to others so that all of us can pursue our dreams and live freely. Thank you all.
Thank you, Emiko and Moss, for presenting our veterans with respect that they deserve, with our distinguished veterans remaining on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, if I can ask you again to please stand for our colors, and I would like to introduce the members of the U.S. Army Reserve Color Guard of Hawaii, who will now post the colors. And now, it is my pleasure to introduce Lauren Kincaid Wong, a dear friend of ours who will sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Our thanks to the U.S. Army Reserve Color Guard of Hawaii, and what a beautiful job, Lauren Kincaid Wong. Thank you so much. As many of you know, we have close to 1,100 audio-visual interviews in our Hanashi Oral History Collection. Each one of these interviews sheds a powerful light on the experiences and the feelings of the Nisei soldiers. So we thought we would share a few interview clips of why they wanted to serve during the war. Take a look.
I felt that I was a true American and I didn't need to prove my loyalty. So I made an analogy like if a fowl walks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, I said it must be a duck. So I, as an American-born citizen, went to American school, educated as an American, and I hope I spoke like an American. So I said, I must be an American. But as 10,000 young boys from the islands volunteered to serve, I thought, well, rather than prove my loyalty, I'll show my patriotism.
All my friends volunteered, you know. All the people that I played with, grew up with. They didn't come out and say, let's join, you know, it's something very personal, so they say, but I found out they'll join, so a day later, I went to volunteer.
I thought I would be joining our hospital unit. They eventually went to the UK. I just took it for granted that I would be a part of that unit. And lo and behold, I get all these letters now telling me that there was that they were not accepting Japanese nurses.
We already heard what the 100th Battalion was doing. And then they agreed to have another regiment instead of the battalion. So 442nd was formed in Hawaii. Then they wanted more if they could get it from the mainland. So people in Hawaii, they were surprised that the people in the mainland volunteered because they were behind barbed wire fence.
So I took my time a drawing. And they told me, well, you gotta go and fight for your country, you know. So they gave me the blessing.
Doors weren't opening for me. I wanted to get into nursing. I had one letter saying you cannot have any one of your ancestry around the patients.
I was an enemy alien, okay, at the beginning. That's a classification, because I registered when I was in Tule Lake, when I become of age, to register for the service. And when I got my invitation, they had me reclassified as 1A.
The captain in the medics, and he looked at my file. He says, "Number one, you got flat feet." I said, "Yeah." And number two, you're practically blind in one eye. And number three, he says, "Look, with all the bad things that the government has done to you, you're under no obligation to volunteer for anything." So he says, all I have to do is check this little spot, unfit for service, and you're all free. Why don't you sit this one out? So I told him, look, after the war, I want to be able to say, look, I've done my part. And he looked at me and he shook his head and says, I can't believe you guys. Here the government throws you in concentration camp, and yet you guys are willing to risk your life for your country. He says, good luck, and he checked. I almost didn't make it.
The monument is the benchmark that all Asians can turn to and say, this is what we did, and we really do belong. And the stories that are left behind to reinforce the claim of being American, I think is very important.
That's beautiful. It goes to show you how invaluable that library is, and the work we're doing here today allows it to continue on. It's fantastic. So we now come to an important part of our program where we acknowledge the veterans who have passed away since our last gala. This moment never gets easier, but I ask each of you to also remember the 33,000 American World War II soldiers of Japanese ancestry who so valiantly and selflessly fought both on the war front and at home. Back to our screens. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-Grammy Award-winning Daniel Ho. You know, it's always so difficult to see the many names of the veterans who passed away, but it also serves to remind us of the critical importance of our work in keeping their stories alive. Do you have a glass handy, everybody, a glass of wine or water or whatever you want to toast with, because I want to direct your attention to the missing soldiers table right over here in the front of the stage. We do this every year. It's a touching moment for us. This vacant table symbolizes the soldiers who did not come home at the end of the war. So at this point, I would ask you to please raise your glass and toast in their honor for their ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. To represent the leadership of Go for Broke National Education Center, I am pleased to introduce George Henning, Chairman of the Board of Directors. George?
Good evening. It's great to see all of you here, and I would personally like to thank you on behalf of the staff, the Board of Directors, and the Board of Governors for the generous support you've provided during the past 3 years through your donations, through your participation in our virtual programming, and it's been a real inspiration to us to see the support that you've given to the work that we do. It is wonderful to be here this evening to get together personally. It's very meaningful to me because it allows me to keep a promise to my dear friend and Nisei veteran, Manabe Hirosaki. He would be very excited about our work to put their story in front of the younger generation and audiences on behalf of the Go for Broke National Education Center. Leadership, thank you for your support and for your shared commitment to our mission. The board and I remain dedicated to keep their legacy alive for generations to come. Let me now introduce and welcome messages from the Diamond sponsors, Sokei and Linda Aratani, and Rick and Patty Shinto.
Hello everyone, I'm Linda Aratani, and together with my mother, Sakaya Aratani, we're delighted to welcome all of you to this year's Evening of Aloha Gala. We're sorry that we could not be there in person, but we are proud to be a part of this special celebration honoring the Nisei World War II soldiers like my father, George Aratani, who served in the Military Intelligence Service. Our family knows how important it is that we all work together so that future generations know about the Nisei soldiers' legacy.
I thank you all for coming tonight. I hope you had a wonderful dinner. Thank you.
Good evening. It's an honor to be at this special event and to celebrate with all of you the legacy of Nisei World War II veterans. It's great to see the Go for Broke National Education Center's efforts to preserve and evolve that story through a younger, more diverse audience. Throughout the program this evening, we will be reminded of the meaning and significance of that story. In particular, the young soldiers like my father and uncles who served to ensure that all Americans would have a more just and free life.
It is important that we continue to work together so that their service to our nation is not forgotten. On behalf of our family, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to the Nisei veterans, and we hope that you enjoy this year's Evening of Aloha.
That's great. Nice to hear from Rick and Patty Shinto and Sakaya and Linda Aratani. I just heard, maybe I'm not supposed to say this, but today's Linda's birthday. So happy birthday, Linda, wherever you are, and hopefully you're celebrating. You've done so much for our community. At this time, we would like to acknowledge all veterans who served in the post-World War II conflicts. Please stand so we can recognize you for your service. And ladies and gentlemen, please give them a warm round of applause. Stand up. Don't be shy. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your service. Wonderful. So in 2020, we began a new Evening of Aloha tradition with a living Nisei World War II veteran photo tribute. Through assistance with Nisei veterans organizations nationwide, we were able to showcase a military and a current photo for each of the 88 veterans. And this year, the third annual photo tribute showcases 67 living Nisei veterans from 10 different states. So this year's tribute includes 5 100-year-olds, 5 at 101, 3 at 102, and 1 at 103, and one more at 104 years old. Congratulations, that's awesome. And here to introduce the first of 2 photo tribute segments is Masatoshi Komoriya, Executive Chairman, MUFG Americas Holdings Corporation and MUFG Union Bank. Please welcome Masatoshi.
Good evening. MUFG Union Bank is once again honored to support this year's Evening of Aloha Gala dinner as a Ruby sponsor. We are proud of our long-standing partnership with Go for Broke National Education Center, and we are grateful for the opportunity to further their work to educate and inspire character and equality. It is important for MUFG and to me personally to contribute to be an active community partner, especially here in California, where the Bank of Tokyo of California was originally founded many decades ago. As you may know, MUFG is in the process of transferring ownership of MUFG Union Bank to US Bank. The baton will be passed, but our heritage will not be lost, and our lineage will never be forgotten. Our bonds with the Japanese American communities will be preserved, and MUFG will continue to support Japanese American communities in California in many ways. I am privileged to now introduce the first segment of the Living Nisei World War II Veteran Photo Tribute in honor of their valiant service. Please enjoy this special tribute. Thank you.
Hello, hello. Wasn't that incredible? Year after year. You can give an applause. We can give an applause for that. Year after year, the beginning of this program is always my favorite part of the evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Craig Ishii, and I know every single speaker has said this before me, but I am so happy to see everyone here, person to person, face to face, eye to eye. Now, I've been asked to share this story a lot through my time in community, but I think given the context of tonight, it's important that I share just one more time. As is the case with many in my generation, my involvement in this community was never a given. Sure, I did community events, programs, activities growing up, but it wasn't until I did those that were specifically designed to teach me about my community, to get me plugged in, that I really started to think about what my role might be in its future. And that's really what we're trying to do here at Go for Broke. We've spent decades capturing and exhibiting the stories of thousands, tens of thousands of veterans, their families, and really an entire generation. And the reason why we do that is so that we can think about the future. Because in the future, now we need to think about how we proactively harness and share those stories so that we can transform hearts and minds, so that we can find connections to new communities and issues, and most importantly, so that we can inspire action, incredible action for generations to come. So this segment is going to be a little bit long. You're going to really get to know this voice right here. But it's also going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to dive in, starting right here at home. Let's have a look.
Courage, patriotism, sacrifice. These words describe the service of the Japanese American veterans of World War II. These words describe the service of Ryo Hayashi. 50 years after the end of the war, a federal bill passed which directed the Department of Defense to review the records of World War II Asian American soldiers who had been awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. Among these soldiers was Joe. Upon their review, the Department of Defense upgraded the award bestowed upon Joe Hayashi in 1945 to the Medal of Honor. On June 21, 2000, President Bill Clinton presided over the ceremony at the White House, awarding our nation's highest military recognition for acts of valor to 22 Asian American World War II veterans, 15 of them posthumously.
When young Japanese American men volunteered enthusiastically, some Americans were puzzled. But those who volunteered knew why. Their own country had dared to question their patriotism, and they would not rest until they had proved their loyalty. Their motto was, "Go for broke." They risked it all to win it all.
Chie Watanabe accepted the Medal of Honor on behalf of her brother. A couple of years before Chie passed away, she gave her son Robert the framed Medal of Honor, the Distinguished Service Cross and Bronze Star, which she had proudly displayed in her living room. Recently, Robert decided he wanted to share the story of his Uncle Joe through his medals and considered several places meaningful to his uncle's life, eventually entrusting Go for Broke National Education Center with the care of Joe's medals and, more importantly, his legacy. Go for Broke National Education Center is honored to be the home of Joe Hayashi's story of courage and obligation to others. His Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, and Bronze Star will be on permanent display, a testament to the future that was created by acts of courage, patriotism, and sacrifice.
What you just saw there was the reopening of our permanent exhibit right here in LA, Defining Courage. But when we think about exhibits, we usually think about something stationary, right? Something that stays in one place. But not for Go for Broke. This year, we had the opportunity to send both of our traveling exhibits, Courage and Compassion, and Portraits of Courage, to the Dallas Holocaust and Human Rights Museum. Next, we're going to hear from their president and CEO, Mary Pat Higgins, on why she felt this was an essential story to share with the Dallas community. Let's have a look.
The history of the Holocaust teaches us about our desire to scapegoat, to look for people to blame. It teaches us how an entire country can be convinced to turn against a very tiny population. and it teaches us how dangerous prejudice and hatred can be. We are so excited to be bringing courage and compassion to our museum in 2022. We think it's very important to share the history of the sacrifice of Japanese Americans and the story of the 522nd, their bravery and heroism, but also the story of ordinary Americans who stood up for their Japanese neighbors. And our goal is to help inspire our visitors to look for opportunities to stand up for others, to fight prejudice and hatred, and resist the urge to be indifferent in their daily lives. We can each make a difference, and it's our responsibility to do that.
So you've got your national exhibits, you've got your local exhibits, and we also have our stories. Both virtually and face-to-face, and in school curriculums, we had the opportunity to share our stories with Fortune 500 companies, with schools, with local communities, and we told those stories across the seas in Hawaii, as far north as Michigan, as far south as Texas, and places in between, like Missouri and Colorado. And if there's any single individual that we might have missed through that work, there's always national television. With our partners at A&E and the History Channel, this year we told not just one, but two of our stories to a national audience of millions of viewers across the US. And what it's proven is that pandemic or not, the work continues, and this country will know the story of our Nisei veterans and the stuff they fought for. And by the way, next time you're on the plane, that's right, if you're flying United, we're also on the plane now, just type in Hidden Heroes on that little TV screen and use the opportunity to share the story of our Nisei vets with the person sitting right next to you. Okay, I want to talk about original content next. So we've got our national television, but we've also got original content. A little bit later tonight after dinner, you are going to hear from really one of the most dynamic speakers I've ever heard, Sierra Kato, who is the host of our show, Living the Nisei Dream. But we've got others. We've also got our show, Sharing Stories Around the Table. We've got our show, Heroes Among Us. And they're all designed not just to retell the story, but to find connections to communities, to issues, to generations. And that's what it's all about. It's about how we connect the dots. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of a sneak peek of what's to come.
My father was involved in Italy in the Arno campaign, and their unit was awarded the Bronze Star. My father never shared that.
We never knew the depth of their service, and that is something that we've learned throughout the years.
What Hawaii is today is a result of the veterans of the 100th and 442nd.
All kids of immigrants are Nisei. I think that's something that we can probably share. It's a Japanese word, but it's an American idea.
The 65th Infantry Regiment, an all Puerto Rican segregated unit.
They were treated unfair. They were treated with a lot of racism.
My father was in the first class at Camp Savage. I think it's a legacy that we want our daughter and future family members to be proud of.
YouTube.com/Go for Broke National Education Center. And by the way, if you like what you see, smash that like and subscribe button. Okay, last but not least, I am excited to make really what I think is one of the biggest announcements we're going to make tonight. It's actually something that I remember hearing about in this very room several years back. It's been a dream of our veterans, and it's been something that this organization has been working on for really several decades now. So I think you've seen some of the renderings outside, you've seen some of the posters, some of the displays, but if you are as excited about this announcement as we are, I'm going to ask you in just a second to share that excitement with applause, screams, shouts, whistles, whatever you want, right as I finish this next sentence. So are you ready? Through key community partnerships and investments, right next to our monument, we will be breaking ground next year, that is right, next year, on a brand new multi-use facility for the Go for Broke National Education Center. We have a permanent home. It's big news. This is huge news. And we are very, very, very excited to say fare thee well to the old and busted parking lot and to give a warm welcome and hello to a brand new building that has 10,000 square feet of office space, 30,000 square feet of commercial space, 248 units of affordable housing, an exhibit hall, a multi-purpose room, and the best part is that it's not just for us. This building is also going to have a theater for East-West players, as well as house a number of legacy businesses and restaurants, and that is the whole point. As we look to expand Little Tokyo, it's not just about us. Just like our Nisei vets dreamed, it's for the whole community. And so, I told you it was a lot. You get very familiar with this voice here, but I want to just take stock of where we're at and where we've come. We've got thousands of stories. We've got traveling exhibits. We have national television, and now we have an expansion that's for all of us. This is the work of Go for Broke. It's why I'm here. It's why you're here. And when you think about the legacy of our stories, when you think about the future of our community, know that they're in good hands. And with your continued support, they'll stay in good hands. We'll grow this organization, we'll expand our presence, and not just for us, and not just for our own community, but for those beyond and those coming next. Because that is what we do here at Go for Broke. We share the stories of the past so that we can build the stories of the future. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Craig, great job. Isn't that a wonderful news? Boy, seeing that building is just going to be amazing, and boy, we need it. So to Craig again, thanks for bringing us up to speed on what Go for Broke has been creating and also what's coming up, in particular that new building. But also it goes to show you it's the hard work that you all are doing as well. It's you being here allows us to do all of that. And we've added lots of new store merchandise items, by the way, which helps us pay for that building. It's right out there. If you didn't get a chance to visit our store in the foyer, they are still open. So give them a visit. Plus, you can visit online at goforbroke.com. You can also shop and support at the second annual virtual EOA Marketplace, which features small businesses who are giving 20% back to Go for Broke. So next we have a wonderful treat for all of you. Talented musician, Grammy Award-winning Daniel Ho. You saw him just a second ago, but you're going to see him more significantly here. And Hiroshima's Jun Kuramoto, they have created their version of America the Beautiful along with vocalist Stacy Toji, a torchbearer and member of our board, plus a couple of other special friends as well. So please watch.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, forever waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the
Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful performance. And how about the very talented Jun Kuromoto, Daniel Ho, and Stacy Toji? Can we give another round of applause for them? Thank you. But I think there's one thing that we can all also agree on, is that the true stars of that performance were our veterans. Mr. Ed Nakamura, Toki Yoshihashi, and Yosh Nakamura. All of their smiling, their laughter, and of course their singing, yes. Stacy Toji, better watch out. Ed, Tok, and Yosh might actually give you a run for your money on your singing career. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maya Hernandez, and I am honored to be a Go for Broke National Education Center torchbearer. My mother was born and raised in Japan, and my father is a first-generation Mexican-American and a veteran of this country. I grew up all across, thank you. I grew up all across the United States and Japan, and although I don't have any direct ties to a Nisei veteran of World War II, it is their story that resonates deep inside of me. The courage and dedication to this country, exemplified by the Nisei soldiers, is a very major reason why I am able to be here standing in front of you all today. The Go for Broke legacy forthrightly demonstrates what it means to be an American and what all of our communities had to contribute in the building of this great nation. I am reminded of this very important lesson every time I engage in the work of this organization, which is also our organization. Tonight, you will find that there are envelopes at each of your table. We hope that you would be able to contribute any amount, which will help support this very important work for many, many years to come. Our amazing Go for Broke staff and the wonderful Nisei Week Court will be coming around during dinner, collecting these envelopes, and feel free to ask them any questions you might have. Again, we are just so incredibly grateful to see everyone here tonight and have all of you here with us. We know it's been a few years since we've been able to do this, so thank you for coming. And any contribution that you would be able to make tonight will make a significant impact in our ability to continue carrying the torch of the Go for Broke spirit and legacy for our future generations. So thank you so much. And without further ado, let us enjoy this wonderful and very delicious meal that has been prepared for all of us tonight. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and itadakimasu.
Very important right here. Did you enjoy your dinner, everybody? It is absolutely delicious. Created by Chef Roy Yamaguchi, Chef Akira Hirose, and Chef Adrian Hochette and his culinary team.
And Chef Jeremy Chu from King's Hawaiian Bakery and Restaurant. We appreciate their generous donation of their time and their talents.
Give them a huge round of applause. It's part of what makes tonight such a special thing. And we have with us in the audience tonight Congressman Mark Takano, right over here. He represents California's 41st Congressional District since 2013 and is the chairman of the House's Committee of Veteran Affairs. Thank you so much, Congressman. Also with us is the Consul General of Japan, Los Angeles, Mr. Kenko Sone. Great to see you. He just recently began his new post this past September. Wonderful person, such a friendly human. Thank you so much for being here. Also joining us is Judge Fred Fujioka. Fred's out there somewhere. Hi, Fred. Oh, you're over there by the back exit. He was about to walk out. Good to see you, Fred. Former Assemblyman David Hadley. Thank you very much, Mr. Hadley. George Nakano, former California State Assemblyman and former Go for Broke board member. Thank you very much for being here. And our dear friend, former president of Go for Broke National Education Center, Mr. Don Nosei. Don, great to see you. Representing our NextGen, we have 3 of our first place contest winners from our 2022 Student Essay and poetry contest college essay winner is Ryan Horio. Ryan's out there somewhere. I think they're all sitting together, in fact, if you see Ryan. In addition to Ryan, college poetry winner Robert Schwartz, and high school essay winner Caroline Pangilinan. Thank you all, and congratulations. Wonderful work you have done. So let's now bring back Daniel Ho, who will premiere a new song written by our friend and supporter, Jun Kurumoto, to honor all Nisei veterans. In particular, June wants to remember her uncle, who died saving the Lost Battalion. Unfortunately, June is unable to be with us today because she is on tour with Hiroshima, but she is with us through the magic of video. So please refer to the back of your program about the inspiration for this song. Here is the world premiere of His Story. Daniel, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa Magallanes, and I am very proud to say that I'm also a torchbearer. I am also the grandniece of Ryo Jo Hayashi, one of the Nisei soldiers who was awarded the Medal of Honor. I recently learned about Go for Broke National Education Center earlier this year when my family made the decision to have my great-uncle's Medal of Honor displayed at the center. My family and I were invited to attend the annual Monument Anniversary Tribute, and instantly I felt a deep connection to the stories that were shared, including some of my own family that I had never heard before. It was the right decision to share the Medal of Honor with Go for Broke National Education Center. My great-uncle Joe's sacrifice and contribution to our country has often been shared amongst our own family, but now his history and his story can be shared with everyone. The display is beautiful, and it is very fitting that it sits in the very room where his funeral service was conducted, in the historic Nishi Hongwanji Buddhist Temple. For me, however, Go for Broke National Education Center's displaying of my great-uncle's Medal of Honor was just the beginning. I was warmly welcomed into the Torchbearers and participated in a recent visit to Denver, Colorado, where we met with other descendants of our Nisei soldiers and engaged in meaningful conversations about what their legacy means to all Americans. My fellow Torchbearers and I are committed to honoring the legacy of our Nisei veterans of World War II. We live the lives we do today because of the service they gave 80 years ago. Being a torchbearer has given me the opportunity to connect with my family's history in a deeper way, to establish my place in our community, and to recommit myself to the finest of American values. I hope that you are all enjoying yourselves tonight, but if you can, please take a few minutes to use the envelopes at your tables and make a donation. We will continue the work to make sure that our veterans are never forgotten. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce the next moving segment of the Living Nisei World War II photo tribute.
Not shy, yo, keep passing the torch.
We the next generation since the day we were born. We were meant to live free, this our family.
Always going for broke, and yo, we living the dream.
I'm Sierra Kato. I'm Yotse, for instance, which means fourth generation. I get to pursue a lot of dreams that, say, my grandparents weren't able to at the time. Come join me on this journey that only the Nisei made possible.
Always going for broke, and yo, we living the dream.
Same person. I'm different outfit, but, and as the other me just said, I'm Sierra Kato, and I've been supporting Go for Broke National Education Center since 2020. So, one of the things we've been talking a lot about tonight, and a primary challenge that we face, is, how do you take this 80-year-old story, right, and make it relevant even today? And, equally important, how are we going to get those younger generations to really embrace the story and really kind of care about the legacy of the Nisei veterans of World War II? Well, it hasn't been the easiest thing, but I think we are well on our way.
So I remember the first meeting we had with the Torchbearers, and I came with all my very best ideas, how we were going to have seminars, how we were going to have speaker series, and this one young man says, I wouldn't go to any of that. And I'm talking about a narcissistic injury. And I said, why not? And he said, because I'm not into any of that. And so I asked him, well, what are you into? And he said, drinking and clothes. And I thought, well, what am I going to do with that? But from that, we had our first pub crawl, our first Spam Musubi eating contest, and our clothing collaborations. And most importantly, we learned a lesson of listening to the next generation.
I also love clothing and drinking. What a coincidence. But yes, Go for Broke, we didn't stop there, right? We started to really listen to how the Torchbearers wanted to be of service. So for example, even during the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic, the Torchbearers took it on themselves to go and spruce up the Evergreen Cemetery, which is where over 40 Nisei veterans are buried, including 4 Medal of Honor recipients.
These young veterans who are younger than me or were the same age as me, what does it mean for them to have given everything so that I could have the opportunities I have today? They didn't have the option to think about all of their different routes in life because they were so committed to serving this country, and that's ultimately one of the greatest things that they gave to this country was their lives.
It was really touching for me, and it was very nice to be able to reconnect to my family history. Go for Broke has always stood out to me as far as what made the biggest impact. We did say invite us to the next one. We'd love to make it out just because we love to give back. Being educated in our family history was a very special thing for all of us.
And actually this past year, the Torchbearers were featured on the nationally syndicated show Takeout with Lisa Ling. You can watch it right now on HBO Max. Well, not right now, after. And, really through all this, the next generation of supporters really began to feel an ownership of the story and take responsibility of the legacy. Just watch this.
These guys who kind of looked like us, 18, 19 years old, volunteering for service for a country that didn't trust them, imprisoned them, and they said, I'm gonna do my duty to my country.
One of my sorority sisters had said to me, who do you think is more American? And she pointed to herself and then a friend next to her. It was like I was not American. At that moment, I felt so liberated because I just let loose. I think I actually might be more American. Did your grandpa fight for the US ever? No? Well, mine did.
Being fourth generation or Yonsei is I see myself more as American than Japanese. My uncle passed away. I found out in his obituary, that he had served. Sorry, give me one second. I found out in his obituary that he had served. And I think that at that moment, I don't think I've been more proud to say
that I was Japanese American. Sorry.
No, man. You know, you are carrying on the best of your grandparents, and in doing so, you keep their legacy alive. You are the American dream that they came here for.
The legacy of the Nisei veterans is really fighting for the future of those they love, but also those that they would never know.
Can you believe she came up with that on the spot? We talk about that all the time. I mean, speaking of, fighting for those they would never know, our torchbearers really have channeled that Go for Broke spirit and applied it to issues of today. For example, by raising money for Ukrainian relief. They saw a need and they acted on it.
As violence in Ukraine continues to escalate, the critical need for humanitarian aid becomes ever clearer.
Inspired by the legacy of World War II Nisei veterans,
we're starting a donation match campaign to raise money.
The Torchbearers will be matching up to $1,000 in donations.
Please join us in supporting those in Ukraine. Thank you.
And in addition, the Torchbearers organized a forum to educate others about African American reparations in California. And beyond that, we have connected with other young people from around the nation and around the world.
In St. Louis, there are very few Japanese Americans, mostly older Japanese or Japanese nationals. When Go for Broke National Education Center came to my high school, suddenly I wasn't alone in my Japanese American experience. I was able to speak to my class about Grandpa in the 100th 442nd, giving me the opportunity to show that history is not in the distant black and white past that we tend to dismiss it as. And since then, I've been working with Go for Broke and speaking about my experience as a Japanese American. And it's changed my life.
We have a personal connection to my grandfather who was in the MIS. He was in the 100th Battalion. Really just amazing. Those values and strategies are still applicable to us today.
Being able to share that with other people is important. And we're so much stronger when we're together.
To read the story and feel so inspired from the start just made me think, what is it that I can do for the community that's even comparable to what these Nisei veterans did?
They also had so much resilience to come back and build lives and successful businesses that we all benefit from now.
My great uncle receiving the Medal of Honor has really made me reflect on my Japanese heritage.
What would you say to him if you were here today?
I'd let him know how much his life and legacy has had an impact on my life. Oh my God, I'm like crying.
I've seen the interview with your great uncle where he talks about holding his best friend. Now you got me crying. Holding his best friend and watching him die. Yeah. And we're sitting here because of them.
That was really special. And just going off of that, because of them, we have a duty to really carry on this legacy and connect with the younger generations that are also beyond our own community. So this year, that actually inspired us to kick off the Go for Broke Journalism Institute. So we partnered, are you guys, give it up for the Go for Broke Journalism Institute, everybody. Really, I'll tell you more, I'll give you the deets. So basically, we partnered with the Asian American Journalism Association of Los Angeles and the Downtown Business Magnet School. And we worked with 8 students from their newspaper staff. So they were mentored by professional journalists from the LA Times, the New York Times, the Washington Post. And of course, don't you worry, our very own David Ono was a presenter, okay? Couldn't keep him away, And possibly the most interesting part of this whole thing was that none of those students were actually Japanese American. So were they still able to embrace the story? We'll let you decide.
You called me out of the blue and you said, I have this wild idea. We should do a journalism institute.
and share the story of the Nisei soldiers with new generations and new communities. That's when I suggested, let's have Go for Broke partner with the Asian American Journalists Association, and we will provide the journalism professionals from ABC and the New York Times and the LA Times and all these other first-rate media organizations.
I said, all the things I'm going to share with you today on how to write a story.
This is my toolkit, and I'm emptying it for you.
And these students are rock stars. They are so amazing. 92% go to college.
I come from El Salvador. I was born there. I'm an immigrant. I came from Bangladesh.
A Jap caravan heads for the government's war relocation project in the Owens Valley.
I started focusing not on what the U.S. government did, but the bravery of these men and their story and how historic that was.
My entire Go for Broke final project is about the Akune brothers and their time in the MIS, the way that they faced adversity, prejudice, and hatred to prove society wrong.
Even though the sentiment was against volunteering, we felt that we had to do it by action.
My mom is a nurse. I wanted to focus my story around the nurses.
I have Daniel Nuye, and he had lost his right arm during battle, right? But what inspired me of his story was he didn't stop. He wasn't like, okay, like I've done enough. His story is something that we can all use to, want to be someone greater.
From a journalistic perspective, this was a home run. What does this mean to you as a Japanese American?
I'm so sorry. I get so emotional with this story. Because my uncles were in the 442, and one of them was killed in the Battle of the Lost Battalion. And my father was in the MIS, the Military Intelligence Service, and for us to be able to share that story beyond the Japanese American community with other communities and especially new generations was so personally meaningful and, as you can see, so emotional to me.
I learned if you guys can fight against all of this adversity and still want to be something great, then maybe I can too.
These men were the sons of immigrants, and I am also the daughter of an immigrant. The similarities are the struggles, the difficulties that we faced in order to prove that we are American and that we do deserve to be here.
These are really things that you should learn about because you can't really forget what happened. It's just like heartbreaking. Yeah, nobody should ever go through that.
Really incredible. Yes. So, I mean, clearly this story, it's resonating with so many, and it's possibly more relevant today than it's ever been. So, looking towards the future, Go for Broke is very committed to placing the legacy of the Japanese American soldiers of World War II in the hands of the younger generations. Because at the end of the day, it's not simply just a great Japanese American story, right? It's also a universal story. And I gotta shout it out again, as our wonderful torchbearer extraordinaire pointed out, Emiko Crayons, right? Their story is that of a generation who fought for the future of those they loved and those they would never know. So it is our responsibility, but it's also our privilege to carry on their legacy.
I'm just grateful that Go for Broke National Education Center is putting out all this effort to encourage younger generation, even people of multicultural backgrounds, to take an interest in continuing the legacy of the World War II veteran.
Democracy is not a static thing. It demands education, it demands engagement, and the only way to do that is to connect with our younger generations. And that's why what Go for Broke is doing, it's so relevant.
Working against anti-Asian hate and immigration issues, that's wonderful because that's what these men were fighting for.
To see all the other different nationalities going toward the same goals brought tears to my eyes.
To the torchbearers, I'd like to say keep the faith, keep on continuing, focusing on social justice issues, keep on connecting your family's experience with contemporary issues.
Go for Broke National Education Center. Thank you so much.
I'm very thankful for your interest and thankful for what you're doing.
I feel indebted to, all the Nisei veterans and the people that came before me. I
want to thank you for everything that you've done, and it's really our responsibility to make sure that this story moves forward.
So really thank all of you, thanks to you all, for even the ability to make connections with the next generation. You know, you made that possible, and our veteran story will live on with them. Okaga-sama de, because of them we are, because of them we will continue to be. So now, it is my absolute pleasure to bring up, you all know him, the president of Go for Broke National Education Center, the Dr. Mitchell T. Maki, everybody. Let's hear it for him, Mitch. So great.
Good on. Let's hear it for Sierra Kato. How y'all doing? Oh, come on, folks. I walked around the tables, everybody's saying they're having a good time. How y'all doing? And I have to ask this question, what did you think of the dessert? How many of you liked it? And I want to have a shout out to King's Hawaiian, who donated the dessert, as they do each and every year. And in particular, I want to thank you, Mrs. Tyra, for always being our supporter, always supporting us, always caring about what we do. Mrs. Tyra, the wife of the founder of King's Hawaiian, Robert Tyra, thank you very, very much. It is so good to be here with all of you. It's been 3 years since we have all gotten together. And I want to first off say to all of you who supported us through your donations through the pandemic, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, coming here tonight is so exciting, and coming here tonight is so heartwarming. But the truth is that coming here tonight is also a little bittersweet. Like many of you, I remember those evenings of Aloha where we would literally march dozens and dozens of veterans into this very room, and we would fill this room with thunderous applause. And our hearts would be filled with gratitude. Well, tonight, our hearts remain filled with gratitude. Gratitude for the service that our veterans gave and for what that provided to each and every person in this room. Gratitude that we still have 7 veterans with whom we could share this night and who we can still honor. The time with our veterans is so very precious, and I join with all of you in wanting to embrace every moment with them. To our veterans here tonight, it warms my heart to be with all of you. And to everyone here tonight, it is so good to be back together. Give yourselves a round of applause. So you heard that we've been quite busy during the pandemic. We are constructing, in partnership with our partners, the Little Tokyo Service Center, a new building. There's no place like home. And this new building will be our permanent home. And it will expand the footprint of Little Tokyo. And most important, our monument will no longer be alone in the middle of a blacktop parking lot. Our monument, yes, our monument will be embraced by this new building. And the board and the staff at Go for Broke National Education Center, we are through the roof with excitement. And I can't help but think that our veterans who built this monument are looking down upon us with big smiles on their face. So now, I'm going to let you in on another big announcement, something you haven't heard yet. We're just full of big announcements tonight. I hope that you have been impressed with our torchbearers. Whether on screen or on stage, these young individuals fill me with inspiration. Inspiration that our young generations can embrace and understand the legacy of our Nisei veterans and the guidance that it provides for all of us. Well, in 2023, which is only 2 months from now, we will be taking our Torchbearer program to a national level. We have identified and begun discussions with 4 nonprofit organizations across the country. Sakura Square Foundation in Denver, Colorado. The Japanese American Service Committee in Chicago, Illinois. The Japanese Community Center in Hawaii. And the Japanese Community Youth Center in San Francisco, California. In 2023, we will be convening young adults from these 4 cities and from Los Angeles here to talk about the legacy of our Nisei veterans. And just like with our current Torchbearer program, the Go for Broke spirit and the Go for Broke legacy will serve as the foundation for this national community of torchbearers who are committed to upholding America's promise. The promise that in our nation, no one is to be judged by the color of their skin, the nation of their origin, or the faith that they choose to keep. Our veterans embodied America's promise. Their skin was a different color. They were the children of immigrants from the very nation with which we were at war. And many of them were not Christian, but were in fact Buddhist. And yet they would go on to demonstrate the true meaning of what it means to be an American. Courage, patriotism, service in a time of need. And as Emiko Krantz, one of our torchbearers, so eloquently stated, the legacy of our Nisei veterans is that they fought for the future of those that they loved and those that they would never know. Today, our torchbearers, our journalism students, and our entire programming celebrates and continues to carry on that very legacy of our Nisei veterans. Courage, patriotism, service in a time of need for those that they loved and those that they would never know. So, we are on the cusp of some very exciting new initiatives. A new building, really a new home. Continued programming, videos, and exhibitions that tell the story of our Nisei veterans. An expanded journalism program, and a national torchbearer program that will consist of young adults who will be inspired by a story, not of great Japanese Americans, but of great Americans. We at Go for Broke National Education Center are positioned to ensure that the story of our Nisei veterans is never forgotten, even when our veterans are no longer with us. We are poised to expand the reach of that story and to apply it in meaningful ways to contemporary social issues. But you know what? You know this is coming when I get on stage. We need your help. Tonight is our biggest fundraiser. Tonight is the night that we raise the money that allows us to do the work that we do. If you've liked what you've seen here tonight, If you believe, as we do, that the key to sustaining the Nisei veteran legacy is our younger generations, if you're excited about a new building, if you're excited about an expanded journalism program, if you're excited about a national torchbearer program, then please, tonight, fund the future. Make a donation that will ensure that we will be able to continue to do the work that we do. To our veterans here tonight, Okage-sama de. Because of you, we are. To our torchbearers, our journalism students, our contest essay winners, Okage-sama de. Because of you, we will continue to be. And to everyone in this room, thank you. Thank you for believing in the work that we do, and thank you for believing in the evergreen nature of our veterans' legacy. Please, tonight, fund the future. Thank you for being here. See you next year.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Great job. Mitch is a great leader. He's passionate about what he does. And if you look at it, in this program, you were able to see so many different things that we've been able to accomplish in the last few months to the last couple of years, a lot of great ideas. And the legacy of the Nisei Soldier will carry on thanks to the leadership of Mitch Baki and many others who have contributed to this cause. So I also have to thank the hardworking staff and volunteers for keeping this evening organized and on time. And on behalf of the Nisei veterans and their families, we thank all of our sponsors as well, our donors, our guests like you. And you're probably wondering, how much have we raised so far tonight? And the total so far is $75,000. Thank you so much for that. And we could certainly use more. In fact, Mitch is coming back. No, I'm just kidding. He's not coming back. But, you know, it takes money to have all these projects live on. And it's thanks to you that they do. Stay connected with us on social media platforms. Please note that we will rebroadcast this program, this event on our YouTube channel. It'll be next week. So share that with your friends and family and perhaps folks who don't know anything about this organization or anything about the Nisei Soldier, and help educate them on the great work that this organization does. Now, to officially close this year's Evening of Aloha Gala, we will now retire the colors. So may I ask you one more time to please stand while the color guard comes in. And again, thank you to the U.S. Army Reserve Color Guard from Hawaii for joining us this evening. And that pretty much wraps up our program. Just to plant a couple of ideas in your mind. Don't forget this organization and the Nisei Soldier throughout the year. We could always use your help. We can use your volunteerism. And certainly, continue to give us the wonderful attention and love that you have been giving us throughout the year and the last several years. I know my producer partner, Jeff, is in the back of the room. Jeff McIntyre, I know you're asking everybody, how old do you need to be a torchbearer? I don't know. I can't tell him the truth. It's going to hurt his feelings. However, join us for a cocktail and maybe one of you guys can tell him the truth. Jeff, it's good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll see you later on as we celebrate the Nisei Soldier. We'll see you next year as well.